That's the whole point. Okay? Okay, here we go. We're live, folks. Almost there. Okay. Okay. Okay, here we go. So we are on now, finally, talking about, in chapter 3, the whole theme of the chapter is perceptions. Perceptions make reality. And we have to drive it home, and Baruch Hashem, thank God we've had all of these, I think past maybe 6 that class is just on chapter 3, going through page by page, because we really have to integrate the idea, because, you know, everybody hears the thought, and it's great, and you get it, but then we go out into our life, our everyday life, and then it doesn't grasp us. So you gotta do the download. You gotta integrate it. You gotta go over it and over it and over it again. So that hopefully, at the right time, at the right scene, it'll overtake us, and we'll understand that it's all about perceptions and how we view everything. Because how we view everything, don't forget, when we view something, we're going to have a reaction to it. Usually there'll be a reaction, okay? An emotional reaction. And the reaction is either going to be positive or it's going to be negative, right? So if, the negative of the reaction, and whatever we're going to experience out there is going to be negative, of course, that's going to create a negative angel, because that's what the theme of this book is about. It's about a negative emotional charge. And of course, what you need to do is you have to shift it. You have to shift your perception, because when you shift your perception, you're going to shift how you feel. And then when you shift how you feel, how you believe, what your reaction is, it's going to create a different experience, okay? So this is one of the most basic dynamics that I have here. I don't think I have one of those. Oh, yeah, I have here. Okay, let me see what you got here. You got an extra. All right. So this is the great law that you've asked any Breslov. And when I first was on a bus with one of my teachers, Rabbi David Seltzer, and, here he was, a full-on Breslov, head to toe. You talked about the full-on garb with the long frock and the kapata and the beard and the payas and everything like that. And I was saying, okay, what's the correct crux of Breslov? Tell me it in a nutshell. I want it in a nutshell. Breslov Hasidim, right? What's the Hasidus of Breslov? And he instantly went, Law 282, Reish Pei Beit. Okay, a lot of times the masters of Breslov will know every single one of Rabbi Nachman's laws, and they go into the laws according to his book Likutei Maharan, Law 282. And of course, he explained it to me, and then of course I had to learn it, relearn it, and you can't learn this Torah enough. Okay? So here I wrote here, to cut to the chase, Law 282 brings the adage of judging everyone on the balance of merit. Okay? So when I look in the text, actually he starts off with, Da ki tzarich ladun et kol ha'adam lekaf zchus. No is very deep. No means you really got to be intimate with this. That a person needs to judge everybody on the balance of merit, to give everybody that they loosely translate it as the benefit of the doubt. Okay? Benefit of the doubt, of course, classically is if a person does a shady act, okay, an act which is so, you don't know how to go with this person. And so which way do you go? Do you judge them favorably, or do you go, no, this person is an SOB? You're right, put them on the puzzle list. Puzzle list means disqualified, okay? We used to have a joke in the yeshiva world, right? That some people would go with an invisible stamp on their hands, and after they would have a little conversation with you, and if you, right, they would put a stamp on your forehead, puzzle, okay? Puzzle, which means disqualified, meaning no good, not kosher, okay? God forbid, okay? So if a person, you arrange to say, okay, let's meet at the Starbucks at 1 o'clock, and then you're at the Starbucks, and 1 o'clock, and 1:15, and 1:30, and 1:45, and 2 o'clock goes by, and you go, I'm out. Right? And of course, they're not answering their text or cell phone, and then, okay, of course, now what are you going to, how's your reaction? Okay, so it could be a whole array, spectrum of different kinds of thoughts and feelings that are going to come through. Right? This is the 3rd time they did this month. Or the 3rd time, or I know that they did this with someone else. this is the type of person it is, and then you'll judge that person. Or you'll say, oh, maybe something happened, and maybe they're not okay, something's wrong, okay? On the other side of the extreme, you could be concerned, okay? Or, no, the person's a space cadet, and they space it out, as usual, okay? So, you can go this way or that way. You have to give them the benefit of the doubt. But here he goes here even to a greater way, okay? So he says, you have to give every man, every person the benefit of the doubt. Afilu mishu rasha gamor, even if somebody is a completely wicked person. Okay? Here I wrote in the note, thank God, Rabbi Orlovich said there are no wicked people anymore these days. Right? Just ignorant. Okay? No one really wants to hurt you. Okay? No one really wants to, arrange to meet with you and specifically, I can't wait. They wake up in the morning and say, I can't wait to miss this appointment and see the reaction on the face. And actually, maybe they're hanging out across the street with the binoculars seeing how angry you are. Okay? I don't think anybody really is like that. Okay? He said, for sure not. To be a wicked person, you got to be on a level. You got to know. Okay? Most people, it's just character flaw. Okay? That doesn't mean wicked. Okay? But anyways, let's suppose that somebody in your books is on the level of being a completely wicked person. So Rabbi Nachman is saying, even if he's a completely wicked person, okay, he instructs that one should use his power of perception and seek in that person a good point. Somewhere, there must be some good point within that person, and that with your power of perception and focusing on the one good point, this is what Rabbi Nachman says, you actually elevate that person. Okay? You have to find a little bit of good. He calls it the ma'at tov, the little bit of good. That in that little bit of good, he's not wicked. In this little square inch in this person's life, activities, or somewhere in this person's psyche, there is that little square inch that you found where he is not a wicked person. And why this way, Rabbi Nachman says, when you judge him on the balance of merit, you actually in truth elevate him. A very powerful statement. Unbelievably powerful. Because really what it says that your power of perception affects that person. It's so powerful, okay, that you actually have succeeded in elevating that person in heaven, in the whole scheme of the entire universe. You have actually elevated that person with using your power of perception. That's pretty powerful.
That's huge.
It's huge. You have used your powers of perception almost like Superman uses his X-ray eyes or whatever it is, his laser beam eye. And you have focused on a bit of positive in that person, and you have actually succeeded in elevating him, which is not like what most people do. Okay.
This is honor, right? Honoring them?
I wouldn't call it honor.
No?
It's saying good enough.
This is really, okay.
Sorry.
This is really, no, it's okay. This is really coming from a place where the holy tzaddikim, all they want to do is elevate people, right? All they want to do is see good in people. Now, we come from a place and a society or wherever background or wherever lifetime where, man, that person is off. No, man, they should rot in hell, okay? Okay, it could be a thought, a passing thought, God forbid. But I know that coming from where we are in our lifetimes and all of our experiences, we've experienced this where you just wish some person would get it. Okay? God forbid. The holy tzaddikim never want that. They only want to elevate. They only want to pick people up out of Gehenna. Okay? Many stories of tzaddikim who would actually, and out-of-body experiences, would go into Gehenna and try to pull people out. Actually, Rabbi Nachman says. Rabbi Nachman himself says, you come to my grave, you say the 10 psalms, and give a little pruta, give a coin to charity, to tzedakah. I'll pull you out of your payas. I'll pull you out of Gehenna with your payas. Okay? Payas is like the four corners. If you don't have any, he finds them. Okay? But in other words, the tzaddikim are always trying to. I heard stories about, the Baal Shem Tov trying to affect and pull souls out of Gehenna all the time. Okay? Okay? Avram Avinu sits at the opening of the entrance of Gehenna as the souls are descending, and he's pulling all of his descendants out of Gehenna. Whatever Gehenna is, we won't go into. We've spoken about it before. The idea here is, where's your heart? And the heart should be coming from a place of, we need to elevate this person. And in doing that, you have to use your creativity, your power of perception to see where is this person do good. And I told you I had this story about this guy. I was in a community, and this guy was he was messed up. I don't want to call this guy wicked. He was just so messed up, okay? He had a wife over here in the community, and meanwhile he had a double life downtown where he had a non-Jewish lady and 3 kids from her. And it didn't get exposed till way later, years, okay? That it got exposed. I'm like, this guy is a super job, okay? So this guy, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't. I was like, God, you got to help me with this. And you got to pray. You got to say, God, when you don't see the good, you got to show me. And he showed me. He showed me this guy was an incredible Baal Tzedakah. That means he gave charity. When it came time for him to give charity, it was great. It was the way he did it and his attitude. It was a great attitude. It was good. I saw an area in this guy's life where he wasn't wicked or wasn't messed up. And with that, all of a sudden, there was a release, right? You feel, for sure, and this is how it works. You feel better, right? You see, here, I'm going to focus on just here, he's good. This guy, he's amazing. He's a big Baal Tzedakah. And you got to just use your power of focus and focus on that. And when you focus on that, okay, you see, okay, here, all of a sudden you're released. You're not uptight anymore. Because you've always got a place to focus in on and a place to narrow into and go, okay, here he's not wicked. And when you do that, of course, what happens? The angels that you're creating have now shifted to being angels of judgment. Now they are angels of compassion. And of course, that will affect actually this person. And it says, the verse that Rabbi Nachman brings, right? Ve'od mi'ad ve'ein rasha, a little bit more. Ve'ein rasha. And there's no wicked person. Ve'izbonanta al makomo ve'einenu. This is a verse in Psalms 37, chapter 37. It says, and the way he explains it is, you look a little bit more, and there's no wicked person. In other words, you're looking a little bit more in this person's life to see in the place where he's not wicked. And then the rest of the verses, ve'izbonanta al makomo, and you will contemplate his place, meaning the place where he's a wicked guy, where you're used to him being. Ve'einenu, he's not there anymore. So he extracted this from King David's verse, and understanding it is, your powers of perception looked at the little place where he wasn't wicked, and you looked at the place and he wasn't there anymore because you actually succeeded in elevating him in heaven, in the whole scheme of the universe. You have elevated this soul. Very powerful, okay? So perceptions are extremely powerful. How you look at a person. This is besides what we looked at before with the Baal Shem Tov a few weeks ago. That you have to never judge anybody. Right? Because why? What's happening if you see somebody do something in front of you that's scathy? I don't know if I'm using the word correctly. Okay? Something not cool. And what's happening at that point in time, the Baal Shem Tov explains, is heaven has a judgment against you. And no judgment is ever passed on a person until that person himself signs on their own judgment. You know how policemen pull you over and you have to sign? Why do I have to sign? You're giving me the ticket. You have to sign, okay? So you got to sign on your own. Every soul has to sign on their own judgment. So the Baal Shem Tov has an unbelievable escape path for all of us. He says, when you see somebody do something in front of you, or you hear about somebody doing something in front of you, that's not cool. And what's happening at that time is judgment is against you. Heaven is looking in your file, and they need you to sign something. And if you judge, so what do? Heaven brings hashgacha pratis, divine providence brings in front of your vision, your experience, somebody who does something like what you do. Not exactly, but to some other form or some other degree. And when you judge that person, you go, dang, that person, you do. You're really signing your own sentence. And then then the heaven goes ahead and goes, thank you very much, case closed, we're done, and they go up, and then all of a sudden comes the forces of judgment, and you get a flat tire, or whatever. That'd be the nicest thing, right? Right? Could be worse, much worse. When you judge that person, what you're really doing is you're judging your own self. You're signing on your own sentence. So therefore, the Baal Shem Tov says, don't be judging nobody, no time. Okay? Just, whew. By the way, it just helps you just be a happier person anyways. Okay? So, but here's a more different thing is this, we care about the person and we want to elevate them. It's coming from a different place, not where I'm worried about my own skin, I'm worried about the other person's skin. But then he goes to another whole place here in terms of perception, okay? But then Rabbi Nachman goes on to direct us to look and find the good points in all of ourselves. Don't forget we were talking about the last two classes, what's our self-perception. How do we view ourselves? Okay? What do we think of when we see ourselves? Okay? We all have in us a shadow. I want to introduce you to your shadow. Okay? What is that shadow? If you've ever been in an uncomfortable situation where you felt you were lacking confidence, you clammed up, you're talking to somebody or a group of people, and all of a sudden, you know when you're not on your game, right? So there's a way that you can go ahead and be introduced to who your shadow is. If I could lead you right now in a little meditation, waking meditation, to see if you can put when you're in that uncomfortable situation, and you're right, what does that look like? Put a figure on it. Imagine it being taken out of you and put into, what does it look like? And usually most people will describe some, wimpy little loser. But we all have some wimpy little loser inside of us. That's our shadow. And we have to rise above it. The idea really here is to get a different self-perception of who we are. Okay? So here's Rabbi Nachman helping us with this. And it's the most unbelievable thing. He says, you have to use the power of perception in yourself. A lot of people are very, very self-critical. Won't you agree? I know when I was in yeshiva, it was unbelievable, right? How self-critical we can be with ourselves, okay? And some people just they don't stop. They don't stop, right? Perfectionist, OCD, I don't know what it is. But the idea really here is to use the power of perception to find the good points in all of us. First, you got to find just one. Find one. Okay? That's a challenge. Okay? So, and then he goes, okay, because, right, what happens is the idea that Rabbi Nachman says explicitly, okay, when he says this, a person has to be very careful. He has to be. You have to be happy all the time. Ooh, that's our tikkun so much. You know it's our tikkun. You have to be besimcha always in a state of joy. You have to distance any sadness. Me'od. A great distance. You have to distance sadness from yourself. And even when a person begins to look upon himself and he sees that he doesn't have any good in him, God forbid. And he sees, I have so many weaknesses and faults, flaws in my character, right? And he can look even in a good action. Any good action that I did, even that was flawed because it had a lot of self-motivation in it, right? Had different motivations. It wasn't completely for the sake of God's unity and to bring his name in the world, right? So a person, you can find that. No, you have to find even in the good, you have to find your good points. And then he goes on to say, then you have to get another one. My friend wrote a great book, right? When Heavens Kiss the Earth. We might have a copy here. Where his first exercise in his first chapter was, you got to list 25 good things about yourself. You got to sit in a room, lock the door, right? And list those and get them. Right? Most people won't get past 5. I'm still on 5. Okay? It's a job. It's a serious job to really go through it and crank it out. But let's say you could even get 3. Good. You got to know those. You got to stick with them. And those 3 actually become, this is going to be so bizarre, is your melody. They become your own unique soul frequency that you have to transmit to the world, to the universe, that nobody in creation, not before, past, present, or future, can emit. Nothing. You have a very unique soul frequency, and very special, and you got to find those good points, because that is your flute. Unless you're like a little flute where you have 3 little holes in it, 5 holes, 10 holes, right? That's your frequency. That's your special melody, okay? So, with that, okay, for sure to see the good in ourselves for the purpose that we do not fall into depression, but also for us to attune to and discover our special melody. We are supposed to gather our own unique good points, one after the other, and continue to gather them more and more, and that builds our personal melody. We all have a unique soul frequency and mission that no one else of all creation, past or present, can express. It is our unique mission, and all the holy books speak about it, okay? This is what a great thing about Hasidic thought gets to, okay? Is the positive aspect, the elevating of ourselves, okay? To being, our potential and expressing our potential in a great way, okay? So that's Rabbi Nachman. Law 282, the crux of Breslov Hasidus, doesn't, usually people want to start to learn Rabbi Nachman and they'll go to Torah Aleph, and it's also Torah Aleph is very important, and you got to know Torah Aleph, okay? But really, if you really got to get into the meat, is how do we view humanity and how do we view ourselves, and to be always joyous, okay? Here comes something so amazing. The next source that we have, and this is so unbelievable, and to integrate this, and God willing, B'ezrat Hashem, this book should come out and help people, because you need to constantly be reminded. It's a reprogramming, right? Everything's about reprogramming. Program number 1, how you view it is going to make it or break it. If you view it good, or you got to use your creativity to view it in a positive way, okay? And yourself also. So here, the portion of the incident of the spies in the book of Numbers relates the situation of 12 spies going into the land of Israel before the conquest, right? As we know what happened, all but 2 came back with a bad report. It's a very dynamic principle here, okay? Right, so he said the people that are too big, there's no way we can conquer this land. They're all giants there, right? If you say, and they brought back the fruit, if you see a grape this big, imagine how big the people are, right? So, freak everybody out, okay? And they made this declaration, which is a very strange declaration, but a huge rule comes out of this. We were grasshoppers in our eyes, and so we were in their eyes. Hainu kechagavim be'einenu, v'gam chaya be'einehem. Right? We were the grasshoppers in their eyes. So why is this repetition here? So the commentaries explain, noticing the double language of the text. We were grasshoppers and we were grasshoppers. Why do we need that double statement? Okay? Stating this, the degree of self-value the spies have gave rise to their experience. How they viewed themselves, they had an experience outside. So the Midrash relates that the spies related an actual incident where they were spotted in a garden by giants in the land. Whereupon the giants exclaimed, look, there are grasshoppers in our garden that look like people, right? Look, Daddy, they look like people, right? So the sense of the self inadequacy and the view of themselves gave rise to their actual. They came and they shared with people. They had first the idea of, wow, I feel like such a grasshopper. I feel like such a grasshopper here. I feel like such a grasshopper. And then when they came back to tell all the people of Israel, we had this experience that we were in a garden, and they pointed to us and they go, look, and they called us grasshoppers. Well, you had that experience because you felt like a grasshopper. Okay? The whole Torah is telling us, right? The world treats you the way you treat you. Your self-perception is going to make it or break it. Okay? You look at yourself like a grasshopper. Why is everybody treating me like a loser? Right? Why does everybody treat me like a nothing? Why does people always treat me like this? I get stepped on. Maybe because you step on yourself. Okay? The world treats you the way you treat you. Okay? There are many more texts and concepts that bring about this concept. A few of them being the verse from Psalms, God is your shadow. The big dynamic the Baal Shem Tov brings out. That God is only just like a shadow, right? As you behave, as you move your arms, the shadow is always going to move with your arms. So God is your shadow, which means what? As you move, God is going to only respond in kind to your movements. If you walk like an Egyptian, God is treating me like I'm an Egyptian. What the heck? How come the world is looking at me like I'm an Egyptian? Maybe because you walk like an Egyptian, okay? You treat yourself, you look at yourself like you're, a nebuch. Nebuch, do we know what the word nebuch means? Nebuch means poor person, right? A low life. Why does everybody treat me like I'm a low life? Okay? God is your shadow, only reflecting back to you. Okay, good. Yeah.
It's interesting that if you think about shadows, they're different sizes. So sometimes you're projecting bigger or smaller.
Depending upon where the sun is.
Yeah, but
or the light
sometimes
is.
If you think you're small, maybe you don't think that you're I don't know, you can project it bigger or smaller. The frequency of it could be stronger.
I like that. There's more to develop that. I'm gonna have to think about that. It's good. It's cool.
Hashem
I didn't think about
responds
that.
back to you, and he can respond back more depending on how far out you're putting it versus.
There's something there that I think we'll have to. It's an interesting idea. We have to develop that. It's a good comment. Okay. Okay. So, God is your shadow, which is also the concept that everything God does is measure for measure. It's such a deep concept. Okay. I don't know if we brought that before. I think I bring that in another chapter, measure for measure. Okay? I know a person who was very upset with us, and we couldn't find out why. She had this coolness about her, but we finally couldn't stand it anymore. What it is that's bothering you? Finally, we said to this person who was, all of a sudden the relationship changed. We didn't know what it was. And we went to this person, we go, what is it did we do something? Did I say something? Because your relationship has been cold lately. She called us out on something we did, exclaiming that we discounted her. Okay? And so this lady basically was just so totally hurt because we didn't put her in a certain list of thank yous. Okay? She was in the list, but she wasn't. It happened to be, I don't want to divulge too much information, okay? But this person felt discounted. We didn't give her enough credit, right? Through the wording in a Facebook post, we didn't mention her, so she felt discounted. We truly had no intention of discounting her, but she was greatly agitated, and she expressed it to us. In truth, really, she harbored the idea of feeling discounted. And so it led her to the experience of being discounted. Do you follow me? In other words, if she feels that she's discounted and the world is not giving her enough credit,
She looks for it.
right? And she's looking for where she could be discounted. He has an agenda to see where is it discounted, and therefore she found that and she nailed it. Even though we had no intention of discounting this person, okay? We had no intention of that. We were going on a completely different direction, and oh my gosh, we're not going to go back and change the wording, okay? But she still had this kind of feeling, and obviously the reality is, if she's going around with a feeling of being discounted, she's going to have that experience. It's a dynamic. That's a thing that actually happened to us.
Like the mirror.
It is the mirror,
Yeah.
but the mirror goes along an agenda, okay? And therefore, it really owes to a lot of self-perspective that you have to get into. And anytime that a person has an experience where they're upset, you have to first say right away, thank you, God. Okay? We all have that training now. Thank you, God. Because then this is going to help me to develop myself. Because now if I'm having an upsetting situation, an upsetting experience, it's something for me to grow. Right? I'm feeling discounted. Okay? So instantly we have to know it's all a mirror. So what about is it at me that I'm treating myself in a discounted way? Okay? Why am I feeling like I'm discountable? Whatever it is, the questions you have to look inside, a person has to look inside themselves and work through it. I got to do the work. Okay? That nasty 4-letter word. And it has 4 letters this time. Okay? W-O-R-K. Okay? Okay. So here to go to the next step. Okay? Perception of the challenge. Everything comes from heaven except wondrous awe of heaven. Now, translating that into Hebrew, okay? Hakol b'dei shamayim chutz miyirat shamayim. That's how it's loosely translated. Everything that comes from heaven except fear of heaven. Now, us Westerners ain't jiving with fear of heaven, okay? For some reason, our backgrounds and our experience, the word fear is usually something that pulls you away in a relationship. It doesn't bring you closer. Usually it's something that distances, and it doesn't bring for close. The year is really translated as a state of wonderment, is how I would like to rephrase it, okay? A state of wonderment, okay? To be in awe, in a wondrous awe, okay? So everything comes from heaven except wondrous awe of heaven. That means God is throwing stuff at you, us, all the time. Everything comes from God. Everything. Oh. Our challenge is, how do we react? That is where free will comes in. How are you going to react to it? Okay? There are 2 kinds of experiences that heaven will send us. Heaven is sending us all the time. One is that he reflects back to us who we are and what we are doing, as has been discovering all along this entire chapter. You're seeing yourself. Okay? Hence, we are taught everything God does is measure for measure. As we think, so God reflects back to us. As we believe, God reflects back to us. Whatever we think about ourselves, the world, and everything, Hashem is constantly reflecting back to us. And this is the cosmic mirror. Okay? That's one type of experience God presents to us all the time. Okay? The second, we will call it a nisayon. Really, they're both kind of the same. Because how are you going to react to it is always going to be a nisayon. Now, what is nisayon literally? They translate the nisayon literally as a test. Okay? But you have to get into the real deep idea of what a nisayon, what a test is. Because it's an odd kind of relationship that God is testing us all the time. It's not nice to test people, right? You don't test people in your family, do you, all the time? Right? To see how they're going to react? Oh yeah, we really do all the time, right? Our spouses we test, because then as soon as they mess up, I got you, you SOB. You always do that, right? Yes, yes, yes. It's a true reaction. There you go again. I was testing to see your reaction, and just like I predicted. Okay? We don't go testing people, so why should God be testing us? It's usually not the best in terms of relationships, but of course it's going to mean something different. Okay? It really means express your potential. Okay? Oh, where are my notes? Number 7 is lost. Who knows where? Okay? Must
Maybe
be 17.
Mislabeled 15.
Totally. Okay, the root of the root here, level 15. Okay? 15, the root in the Hebrew has 3 meanings: test, banner, and miracle. If you look at the root as nes. Nes could mean test, or nisayon. Banner is also nes, right? Sanes l'kabetz guliyotzenu, raise a banner to gather our dispersed. And miracle. Nes is also miracle. Now, and all 3 of these have a common thing, because in Hebrew, everything's very deep, right? Everything in the root of the Hebrew is the essence of this thing that is in its Hebrew form, and they all tie in, string into one solid meaning. And the common denominator is, what is a test, banner, and miracle? Is they stick out. Right? A nisayon is you have nature, and all of a sudden a miracle is it sticks out of nature. Right? A banner sticks up high. right? If you're in a tourist place, a lot of people, and they have a flag to go to your party, right? Got to know where to follow, otherwise you're going to get lost. They're getting on the bus and they're going to leave you in Hebron, high and dry with all the Muslims, okay? Right? I lost my tour bus, right? And then, of course, test is also sticking out, which means what? God wants you to draw out your potential. Because dormant, if everything was laissez-faire, bourgeoisie, day-to-day, you'd never have the playing field to draw out your potential. God tested Abraham 10 times. Okay? What was he doing? Just to test him 10 times. Come on. No. He was drawing out Abraham's potential. Okay? So when we're hit with experiences and challenges, it's a special, unique opportunity. Immediate reaction. Thank you, God. Okay? And then you got to work through it. Okay? By the way, the merit of this class and the merit of our learning should be a refuah shlema for Michal Leah Bas Devorah and my wife Devorah Bas Henny, and should also be for Avraham Yosef Ben Yehudi, should have a refuah shlema, and all of the sick people, right? We'll have them in mind, okay? We'll mention them at the end, okay? They reveal something that now can be seen. Banner are raised high, miracles are revealed, providence above nature, and tests bring out of her person's hidden potential. Okay? So that's what a nisayon is. Okay? Now, which also we have an interesting idea. There's no blade of grass that does not have an angel or constellation standing upon it, smacking it to grow. Every blade of grass has an angel smacking it to grow, which means what? Why are you smacking me? Why not? Come on, Moshe. Come on, Moshe. Okay? We have to do that too. Okay? A little caress. But sometimes you gotta mamish get them to move out of the box. Okay? So that's why it's a smack. Okay? So the situations of our daily experience fly in our face. How we react to them is our free choice. The bottom line idea is that free will is before every reaction. In other words, between, as we know, Pavlov and all the psychologists bring out, there's stimulus and there's response, right? Stimulus is what happens to you, and then there's response. How do you react? Now, there's a big difference between stimulus and response, and everybody in Psychology 101 knows there's a huge void in between that. It doesn't have to be the automatic reaction like Pavlov's dogs that they salivate as soon as the bell rings, right? It doesn't have to be like that. We are human beings with free will, and we have the choice to choose which reaction we want to have, right? You have to be creative. Responsibility means the ability to respond creatively. That's responsibility. And you can be creative about your responses. So there's a big, huge gap in between stimulus to response. And this is where our daily experience flies, and we have the freedom of choice how we are going to react. The bottom line idea is that free will is before every reaction. Hence the sages taught, be deliberate in judgment. I did this, I think, in the beginning of the chapter, which means contemplate before reacting. One must acceptingly and with a feeling of being loved ask, why is the unlimited creative intelligence sending this to me? Take a step back, take a breath, and ask the question. The infinite is definitely coaching me to a higher plane, either by teaching me something about myself or teaching me something about myself. Well, I know it seems like it's a double thing, right? Mm-hmm. Teaching me something about myself, or maybe he's trying to bring out something within me. That's really how we have to edit that. Our reactions to those situations come from us. Some can get a flat tire and surf it. Most are irritated by it. Of course, having Emunah, faith, and that is the key to our experience. And this is the real meaning of this adage. Everything comes from heaven except wondrous awe of heaven, and that we have been taught. The other loosely translated phrase, everything comes from heaven except fear of heaven, like I said at the beginning. But I asked a Rav in Yerushalayim who gave me the exact answer from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who says that what the real understanding is explained by the Zohar, fear, Emunah, Yira means Emunah. It's a huge difference. It's a huge shift. Everybody says, everything is from heaven except fear of heaven. Fear translates to Emunah, meaning everything comes from heaven except Emunah, meaning your 2 cents that God's waiting for you to put forth, right? That Maim Nukvin, right? The feminine waters, your 2 bits is Emunah. That is where the whole playing field, free will, all revolves around Emunah. That's why it's the main thing to go for these days. If you have Emunah, you know it's coming from God, and therefore you're going to have the right response. And the first response is, this is coming from God, it's for the absolute best, and there's a reason for it. And therefore you're going to be much calmer inside. You're going to be in a better state, more recipient to higher ideas. Of course, prayer, okay, to get out of the situation if it's a challenging situation, okay? Everything comes from heaven except your Emunah. That's your response. Number 1 response to any situation is Emunah, okay? Actually, here's the passage in the Zohar that I found in note 16. Abraham told Abimelech when confronted why Abraham told everyone that Sarah was his sister, right? They're in a strange land. Abimelech was the name of the king, like Paro, right? So it's his name wasn't Joe Abimelech, okay? Abimelech is like a name of Paro, the king of the place that they were at, right? So he was telling Sarah was hanging out, and of course, what happened was that was one of the tests of Abraham, that Sarah was once again abducted. Abimelech has a dream that night, right? And God basically tells Abimelech, you're going to die and everybody else is going to die. I'm going to kill you. And then he goes, well, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't know she was his wife, right? Okay, we're going to let it slide. You're still going to die. No! So he calls Abraham. He says, why didn't you tell me she was your wife? What's going on with you? How come? So he said, Abraham's exact reaction is, there's no fear of God in this place, and you will kill me. So the Zohar explained it as Emunah. Okay? Meaning, you guys don't have Emunah here. There's no Emunah here. Okay? So also Israel Salanter, father of the Musar movement, explained that the Adish specifically means Emunah, faith. So when we say everything comes from heaven except fear of heaven, fear equals faith. It is faith. Okay? We're looking good in time. Emunah, the best and only reaction. Can we finish this? No, we didn't hit Hillel yet. Let's do a few more lines, okay?
Yeah.
Emunah, the best and only reaction. Everything I've just written is just explaining Emunah in another way. Emunah is loosely translated as faith or to believe, but means so much more. Everyone in the world who has their hand on the pulse of the challenges of the times cannot stop talking about it, Emunah, and writing about it. Okay? It is the what do you call it, the ringtone of the day. Okay? In other words, everybody is trying to dig, scratch, and access more Emunah. That is where all of our energy should be striving towards. Okay? The bottom line is to develop a pattern of thinking that when everything comes from heaven, stuff happens, we can react with a more creative awareness and believe fully that it is from the Creator who loves us. It is for our best, and please God, help me to accept this with love. That should be the prayer. That's the angel that we create. That's the energy we create. The energy is first, as Rabbi Shalom Arush says, thank you, God. And then, please God, help me to accept this with love. The true test is to accept everything with love. Right? That is truly the special and only thing we can bring to the table. It is our job and destiny to have faith, as the prophet said concerning the end of days. Right? Habakkuk says, the righteous man lives on faith. Tzaddik be'emunah, so yichyeh. There's so many books on faith these days, and more come out all the time. Right? You can go look here on the shelf. Tremendous, right? Emunah day by day, Emunah of the day, Garden of Emunah, Emunah number 2, Emunah 101, okay? It's all part of the retraining, a new program, and it needs constant integration. Go and learn, okay? We'll stop here. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just made a banner out of that.